Now that we already created a virtual machine and even drop it, we provision that, stop it, and delete it, right? Now it's time to talk about what is image. We briefly mentioned the image. We also mentioned disk. What is the image? How would that impact our virtual machine provisioning, right? We mentioned that it, as for image, when you provision a virtual machine, you want to have the hardware as well as the operating system and application. And after you finish running this virtual machine, utilizing this virtual machine, you may want to stop it. And then later on, you may want to bring this back again. But during this process, what really is needed to keep the functionality of a virtual machine after it's shut down? You already shut down a machine. Next time when you bring that up, what is needed? Some of the characteristics that we mentioned will not impact virtual machine functionality, like which CPU it was running on, which memory chip, which memory stick is utilizing, what type and size of hard disk it's utilizing, or the output devices. These are attached, so these are not going to impact the virtual machine functionality. What will impact virtual machine functionality is the operating system, application, and the data, especially like configurations, right? So if you want to keep the functionality between its shutdown, what you want to do is to save all these to a hard disk. For in the future, you want to restart it. You can use this hard disk and rerun it. This includes both the stop state as well as the eventual delete state. Of course, during our demonstration, when we delete that virtual machine, we also delete that OS disk. But if you imagine, if I did not delete that OS disk, instead I save it and use that OS disk for another virtual machine's launching, then I can have pretty much the same functionality as the virtual machine that was deleted. Even after it's deleted, I can restore the same state, right? So this is what it means to save to hard disk, or commonly called a snapshot of a hard disk for a restoration. Um, so this is where Azure Image comes from. Azure Image is a pre-configured virtual hard disk that contains an operating system, application data, and/or any other software. Azure Images are used as a template to create new virtual machines in the Azure cloud environment. It can be created from a virtual machine that's in stop state, and which is understandable. If a virtual machine is running, it's constantly reading and writing, reading from and writing into a disk. It's very hard to identify a stable state of that disk, right? There are so many stuff cached. Only when it's stopped, that's time when you can start creating image from the hard disk. Images can be shared with other users too. And there are certain concepts. Originally, this one was called Azure Image, right? But later on, this is called Managed Image. But as Azure Progress improves its functionality, is right now we have something called the Image Gallery. Within each gallery, you have the image definition and you have the image versioning, where so the for the same image, you can keep different versions, right? You can have this version 1, version 2, version 3, each making a little bit change, each make a little improvement. But if you ever want to have the same old functionality, you can go back to the older version. Whereas managed image is a relatively older concept, but of course it's simpler. You just use the managed image instead of considering all this image gallery or versioning thing.